So welcome back, and in this video we're going to do this when using Inventor. Now we've already laid this out in AutoCAD in both the 2D portion and the 3D AutoCAD. One thing that is going to be missing off of the 2D video, which I'll link at the end of this video, is that I did not draw the isometric, and my reasoning behind that is because it is super hard to create an elbow at that kind of shape. So that's my main reason for doing it. Also, I want to give a special thanks for all of the people that are consistently subscribing to my channel and keep watching these videos. It's really encouraging me to do a lot more. All right, so let's go ahead and switch over to Inventor and keep going. So I will be creating this part as a metric part, so I'm just going to select this new icon here. It's the exact same icon as it would be here at the top. I will start off in I'm in the English US version, and I'm going to select the metric folder, and I'm going to use the standard millimeter IPT and go ahead and hit create. Alright, we'll give Inventor a little bit of time to do its thing here, and you'll see the ribbon change when it is ready to go. Alright. So now I'm just going to go with Start 2D Sketch by selecting this icon here. I'll go ahead and place this on the XY plane. And once I have that, I'll start kind of constructing my front view. Now I'll do this really simple. And I'll go ahead and draw a line here going right across. Let's go up at some kind of angle here. Let's go across to here. And then finally down back to our starting point. Let's go ahead and put some dimensions on this, and the easiest way of doing this is just selecting D on your keyboard, or you could select this icon here. So I'll just type in D. Go ahead and click that line, place my dimension, type in 50. I have to scroll out to see the whole entire thing here, and then I'll put the rest of the dimensions on. So I'll go ahead and put a 50 here as well. I'll make a 15 here at the top. And then I'm going to put a dimension from this center point to that end point, and I want to make that distance 18.1. I have the 18.1 and I got it from this drawing here, so that's where I'm using this 18.1. It's just going to make my life so much simpler when I go ahead and place this, right? So when we get to the next step, and you'll see why I'm specifically placing this at the 18.1. Because of the benefits it will give you. So I'm gonna have to do less dimensioning when I do that part. Alright, last thing I need to do is, it's saying that I need one more dimension here at the bottom. I need to bring this down in reference to where it's gonna be at this center point, right? So I'm just gonna simply place a dimension from this line to that center point. Click here, and I'll just make that dimension 0. Alright, everything is ready to go. You can also see here at the bottom right, it says fully constrained. Go ahead and finish sketch. Let's zoom out a little bit. Let's take a look at this using the extrude. Now when this window comes up, it should tell me which direction I want in the distance. So I want this to be 50. And then I want this to also be right here in the middle. Now the benefit of doing that again, and let's refer back to the drawing, is because you can see that this is 25, right? So that 25 is half of my 50 here. So therefore, if I split this, it'll keep my center point, which is located at the 18.1 along this side, and it's also going to keep my 25 located here, right? So it's knocking out two functions here. Okay, so once you have the dialog box filled in, go ahead and hit OK. And now I'm going to purposely make a mistake here on my next drawing here, and I just want to show you the benefits of using Inventor over AutoCAD. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at this from the right side, right? And I'm going to go ahead and put a sketch right along that plane here on the right side. Better yet, let's go ahead and look at it in isometric so you can see the plane that I'm actually going to create this on. So let's go ahead and create a 2D sketch. I will go over here and expand the origin, and then I'm going to find the YZ plane, right? So that's the plane that I want to create this on. So I'll go ahead and select that plane. Alright, so now we're at this location. Now one good thing about Inventor is that we can slice down to get exactly where that's at. Basically I can take a look into that plane or where it's at in reference to my shape. The icon here at the bottom is called Slice Geometry. You can also hit F7. So once you click that, you're going to see that part of this goes away. So this is exactly where that plane is lying at. Let's go ahead and draw a line from that center point. Let's go up this height, and then we'll go over this direction. Let's go ahead and apply some numbers to this. So once again, I'll hit D. Go ahead and select here. Click the distance. Type in 90. Zoom out. And then let's go and put the dimension on here. Now, one thing that you're going to see that this is different from AutoCAD is that do not hit the enter button. So you're just going to type in D and start putting your dimensions on. All right, that distance is going to be 50. And then we can go ahead and put our radius that's located here. So let's go and use the fillet. Give it a radius of 30. And then I'll select these two lines. All right, so everything I need for the sweep is completed on this portion, right? So I have my path created. Let's go ahead and go to Finish Sketch. Let's look at this at the bottom. So I'll select here, and then I'll select this face and select this icon with the green plus. So once we have that selected, you can see that that center dot is located. So that was my benefit of putting that at the 18.1 away from it, and it's also sitting in the center. So that's just going to help me out when I go ahead and create my dimensions. So I'll put a dimension here, and this circle has a diameter of 26. Put another circle here, and it has a diameter of 20. Now, if yours is reading radius, remember the way you fix that is you do a right click, and then you're going to select this icon here. Yours will say diameter because that's what you're going to be switching to. So if I wanted to switch to radius, I would click that. But right now I'm in diameter mode, so I'm just going to leave that alone, and I'm going to type in the diameter here, which is 20. Let's go ahead and hit Finish Sketch. All right, so now we have our profile and we have our path. We can do a sweep now, so select sweep. I will select right in between these two. That's going to be my profile. Next, I'll come down to where it says path. Select my path, and you're going to see that it will create this, right? Go ahead and hit OK. Now you're going to see that there's a problem with this. It created my profile, but it didn't leave the cutout at the bottom. So I have to put the cutout before I put the sweep. Here in Inventor, we can grab this end part. I'm going to left click and hold and drag this above sweep 1. I'll come back to this bottom face. Go ahead and create a circle on that, right? So I'm going to create this sketch. Go to circle. Click that center point again. Go ahead and put it the diameter that it needs, which is going to be 26. Let's go ahead and finish this sketch. Then we're going to use the extrude option. So I'm going to extrude. I'm going to tell it to cut and go through all. Once I hit OK, it's going to go through it. And then I'll drag this endpoint back below. Once I do that, you're going to see that I do have that hole at the bottom, and this shape is now completed on that portion, right? Let's go ahead and look at the front and spin around to this icon. So we do have something happening here. So I'll go ahead and select this face and select the icon with the with the little green plus. Once I have that, I'm going to go ahead and start drawing the shape that I need this to be, right? I'm going to kind of rotate this around just so I can keep my words top. All right, let's go ahead and create that. So I'm just going to draw a line, go up, kind of make an angle line here, come down somewhere in here, and then close it here, right? Let's go ahead and put some dimensions on this. I have a dimension of 40. On this side, I have a dimension of 30. I have a dimension here of 10. And now I need one more to kind of place these in line with each other, right? I'm going to try the horizontal constraint here. So I'll select horizontal. I can see that my dotted lines are going horizontal. So I'll select this green dot here and then that green dot. So that puts them two in place. Let's go ahead and hit escape. Go to project geometry and then select this edge. All right, go ahead and hit escape from there. Use the coincidence constraint. Select this midpoint here and then the midpoint that is located on that green line. Go ahead and hit escape. I'm going to select this green line here. And then I'm just going to tell it to be construction, finish sketch, extrude, tell it to cut, send it through all, and then hit OK. Alright, so you can kind of take a look around this shape and you can see that we are done with this portion of it, right? Next, we need to go ahead and create a drawing of it. So I'll go right to the new icon up here again. Should open up this dialog box. Let's go to the ANSI millimeter IDW. Select here, hit create, and give it a little bit. Now, you know that when we get to bringing in the view, it should ask me to save, right? And because Inventor works that way, it can't create a drawing of a part that is not saved. But I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this title block here. So I'm gonna select that title block, do a right click and go to delete. Title block is gone. Let's go ahead and change the size of this. So I'll go to sheet 1, do a right click on it, go to edit sheet. Once I have edit sheet, I'm going to tell it that I want to create an A size. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller than what I normally do. So this is an A size. It's going to be in the landscape. Once I hit OK, you're going to see my drawing should shrink. Now when I go to base, this is when it's going to bring up that view and say, hey, you need to save that right now. So that's all that this message is telling me. Go ahead and hit OK. I'm just going to name it as example, and I've used this example before, so it's just going to go right over the top of it, which in this case really doesn't matter. So I'll replace it, and now it's going to bring me my view, right? So right now it's brought in at a 1:1. If I left click and hold on this corner, I can bring it down to the next size. Let's kind of move this down here. I can also customize this by typing in 3/4, right? So 3/4 will give me the next size. So if I'm happy with that, and once again, try not to hit enter, come up, do a left click here, left click over here, and then go ahead and create your isometric by doing a left click here. Follow that with a right click, and then hit OK. All right, so now you're gonna see that it should create all of those views. Next thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and cut my section. So I'll go up to section. I'm gonna zoom into this view a little bit. I'm just gonna find the center, right? So I'm gonna, well, first it needs to select the view. So I'll select this view, and then I'm gonna find the center of this circle, right? So once I get to that center, I'll track off of it a little bit. Once I get above it, do a left click, come straight down, do a left click once you get below where you need to be, then follow that with a right click, go to continue. Next, I'm gonna move my cursor here to the left. Now you're gonna see that it should create your section view, and then I'm gonna start moving some of these views around just to give me a little bit more room here. All right, so that fits underneath there, and let's move this up a little bit. Okay. All right, next thing I normally do is go ahead and put my center marks on. So I'll go to the annotate, and then I'll go to the bisecting. All right, bisecting, I'm just gonna select the 2 bisecting lines and go ahead and place those circles on them. I'll also do one with the arcs here. The only thing I don't like about this is that the arcs tend to go just a little bit past it, but there's nothing I can do about it. So I'll just keep right on going. Go ahead and place my center lines here, once again in between here and here. And then I'll also place one more center line between here and here. I'm gonna leave that one off right now, just so I can explain something of why I'm gonna do that. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our center marks. I'll select this circle here and then that circle. So my center marks are done. Now it would be nice if I can grab this and drag it straight down here and it will show me the center line between that, but it doesn't do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and undo that. And then I'll go back to the center line, and that's why I use this one to create that. Go ahead and drag it above it. And now you can see that I do have that little center line marked there. As far as this one, you're gonna see that I do have some double lines with my center marks. So I'm just gonna drag them above it and below it, right? All right, and I can look around the drawing and I can see that that should be everything I need as far as center marks for this drawing, right? So now we're ready to dimension. What I usually do when I go to dimensioning is I worry about adjusting the style after I dimension. I'll go to dimension, and I'll go ahead and place this first dimension, and then I'll click here. Now, some of you may get a dialog box that pops open to say, hey, what do you want to do with it? Do you want it to be a reference or things of that nature? Go ahead and hit escape or click off of it, or hit OK in that dialog box. If you want that to stay on, or if yours is not on, what you can do is that once you get out of that dialog box by selecting OK, you can come back to this and double click this icon, right? So I'm going to double click this in order to change it. What's happening is that you have this edit dimensions when created turned on. Mine by default is checked off, so I'm going to have this turned off just so I can knock out my dimensions rather quickly, as opposed to every time I create a dimension, this dialog box will come up. So that's one of the things I like to do. So I turn this off, go ahead and hit cancel, and then when I go back to my dimensions, you'll see that when I'm creating my dimensions, I'm just flying right through because that dialog box is not something that is going to slow me down, right? So that's one of those little shortcut things for you. Let's go ahead and move this view over a little bit, just to speed you up. All right, let's go ahead and put a few dimensions on this. Once again, you can also use the same D button. Try not to hit enter if you're one of those AutoCAD users. And remember that this is the opposite of AutoCAD. So I want my dimension to be on the outside here. So I'm going to select this point first and then that point and come up and place it. So that's one of the things that'll speed up your keystrokes. Now, if you select it the opposite direction, if you select here first, it's going to put the dimension on the inside. So that's opposite of what AutoCAD does. AutoCAD goes from the last point that you select, whereas Inventor goes from the first point. Let's keep going with our dimensions. So we're going to place a dimension here and one here. Let's get to this view here and go ahead and place these dimensions. So I'll place a dimension between here and one that's going to the center. One that's going from that end point. Let's zoom in to that end point. We can also knock out the radius. Let's take a look at our top dimensions here. Now, I may have to pull this down, so let's escape out of the dimension command and pull this down a little bit, just to give me a little room here at the top. Okay, let's go back to dimensioning, so just D. I'll go ahead and place that dimension here. Go ahead and do our 18.1. Remember, we want it on the outside this side, so I'll select that endpoint first and then here. Let's do all of our other dimensions. So we have a 50 that is located from those two endpoints. Let's give myself a little room here. I have one that's at this 40. Between these two endpoints should be 30. And this is one of those things again, so I want my dimensions to be at the bottom on the outside. So I'll select this endpoint first, followed by that endpoint. I'm just going to track off of this center here, and once I come down, I'll do a left click here. Exact same thing with the 30, right? So I'll select this endpoint first, and then this endpoint. Come and place that dimension. Kind of track it off of there. All right. Let's go ahead and put a dimension for here, and I want that dimension to kind of be, if it's going to come out, I want it to be to the left. So I'll select that endpoint first and then that endpoint. Let's come down a little bit, place that dimension there, place a couple of more dimensions, so from here to here. And we do have that endpoint. Alright, we have some of these dimensions that are reference dimensions, and the easiest way of doing that is now I'll come back and double click on these dimensions. I'll select underneath the Precision and Tolerance tab and just select Reference, and I'm just going to do that again to all of these, right? So I'm just going to double click. Once my dialog box come out, I'll go ahead and hit Reference, click there, just keeping it going. And this is kind of one of the reasons why I like to do all of this stuff right at the end of it. It makes me feel good because I know it's almost over. I can see the end of the tunnel, right? Go ahead and place one here. We have one more of those reference dimensions, right? And let's put one here. All right, so next what we need to do is go ahead and change the format or how this is going to look. The easiest way of getting there, right, is we got to go to the Manage, and then we're going to go to the Style Editor, right? We're going to have to give it a little bit to kind of cook on this because it's going to load it up, and depending on how fast or slow your machine is, this is one of those things that might take a little time, it may not, but I'll give it a couple of seconds here. Once the dialog box appears, I want you to see the standard that it's on right now. So it's using the ANSI millimeter, expand where it says dimension, and then come down to where it says default millimeter, right? Here is where I'm going to go ahead and suppress that trailing 0, so I don't want that to appear. So I'm just going to uncheck this box, and then I'll go to display and take a look around this one. It's going to be the next one. It'll be the text tab. So the text tab is how I want my dimensions to behave. So my horizontal dimensions, I want to read that way. My angle dimensions, I want to read horizontal, and my vertical, I want those to also be read horizontal. Once I hit the save and close, all of this should update, which it does. And then let's go ahead and put some shading on this view. Right? Let's go ahead and move it down just a hair. I'll double click it. I'll go ahead and select this icon here. Now, if you don't want these tangential edges to show up, That's also can be manipulated with the display option, and I can take off the tangent edges, and then we can take a look at how that looks, right? And I can go to OK, and you can see that it is smooth, right? So if that's something that you want to look at, otherwise you can kind of go back to it and just turn those tangential edges back on. All right, so that's kind of one of those options that you do have. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the overall view of it. Everything looks good, so thank you for watching this video, and thank you for subscribing. And if you got any, comments for me, please go ahead and leave them down below. And once again, a special thanks to all the people that are watching these videos, and special thanks to the ones that are subscribing. All right, so I will see you in the next video.